In its fourth hearing this month, the House committee investigating the Capitol insurrection outlined President Donald Trump's relentless pressure on state and local officials to overturn the 2020 election. The committee heard live testimony from officials in key battleground states of Georgia and Arizona. They say President Trump and his allies called for them to reject ballots outright or to submit alternative electors for the final tally.
Anyone who got in the way of Donald Trump's continued hold on power after he lost the election was the subject of a dangerous and escalating campaign of pressure.
Wandrea Shea Moss, a former Georgia election worker, said she faced death threats over election lies spread by former President Trump and his allies. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins us now live from our nation's capital to break down all of the key moments from today's hearing. Scott, good evening to you. What are the big takeaways?
Hey, Yuki, good evening to you. For the second straight hearing, this committee painted a picture of step one, election lies and pressure campaigns, and then step two, threats of danger and threats to the life of the person being pressured. We saw that last week with Mike Pence. The committee explained that he was under pressure in the days and weeks before January 6th and then had a near-death experience at the Capitol. Today it was those two state election officials from Georgia, the Republican Speaker of the House from Arizona, and that civil servant, Shea Moss from Fulton County, Georgia, who described defying the unfounded election claims, then facing death threats, not just to them, Yuki, but to their families. This is a pattern the committee is making and really leaning into.
That they are. So, Scott, what more is known about the ongoing threat of the big lie as detailed by the committee?
Well, the committee made clear it wasn't a piece of history. It wasn't a thing in the past. It's a kinetic, ongoing threat. They even used an example of a New Mexico county commissioner who was convicted for his role in the Capitol riot, who just this week back home tried to reject the election in his home county, saying his gut told him there was still fraud. So the committee is trying to make the argument, unless something is checked here, unless there's accountability, deterrence, or potentially prosecution of more people, this big lie is an ongoing threat for this year's elections in 2024.
And you touched on it also. What more can you tell us about the threats against lawmakers spiking now at all levels?
And really in the Commonwealth. I mean, they made an example today of the threats experienced by an election official in Pennsylvania, and we know already that that Philadelphia Republican voting official spoke previously about the pressure he was under. What the committee is saying, and really what members of Congress outside the committee already know, is we're in a uniquely politically toxic moment right now. Threat investigations involving government officials aren't just rising, Yuki, they're skyrocketing. That is the reality of this moment, and all of the January 6th committee members, according to Congressman Schiff, the chairman today, have faced death threats of their own. We
certainly remember Al Schmidt's testimony, that's for sure. Scott, thank you so much. We'll see more of your reporting tonight on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell at 6:30. Scott, we appreciate you. Stay with Eyewitness News. For continuing coverage of the Capitol assault hearings, we will have live coverage of the committee's next hearing on Thursday afternoon here on CBS 3.